Thanks for coming in, mate, all the way over.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah,
not too far. Now, yours was a when I first came to your show a few months ago, I was told it was funny, and then I thought I'll come and check it out and see what's involved in it, see what's involved in the show, and obviously with my daughter coming and group of friends. But I was in tears, like I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah.
It was just, I was in stitches with it, and it wasn't like a bad thing. Like there wasn't any, you weren't obviously taking advantage of anybody or anything like that. But just putting them in situations and things like that. I was just.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And it's one of them things, people can't believe what they're seeing half the time.
Yeah.
Because nobody believes that people would actually do that.
Yeah.
And so when they're hypnotised, they know what they're doing, they just can't stop it.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing about it, and just to see the reaction on their faces when you tell them to wake up, and yet they're still in the position of pulling funny faces or giving me the bird or something.
Yeah.
And just to see them in that position and just that expression on their face is just gold.
Is there a thought, like, I don't know much about the science of hypnosis or anything that goes like that. I guess you'll be able to tell us about it. But do people know that that's what they're doing?
Yeah.
So you know what you're doing
absolutely
within your consciousness, but you just can't stop it.
Can't stop it. It's like trying to stop your heart from beating. That's beating subconsciously, unconsciously. Yep. Breathing. Yep. You're breathing unconsciously. So under hypnosis, what you're doing, you're bypassing the critical part of the mind, which is the conscious mind, and you're tapping into that part of the mind that's just, you can't stop it.
Yep.
So unconsciously, they do all these actions and all these, when you give them a command or a suggestion, they carry them out because they can't stop themselves from doing it.
Yeah.
So that's a funny thing, it's the most bizarre thing. But they, even when their eyes open, they think they're awake.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden you click your fingers and tell them to do something, and they're dancing like a ballerina across the stage or something. So
because I remember looking at it going, oh, I can't do it.
Yeah.
But then also, like, I thought, oh, I wonder what happens if no one wants to go up.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you said volunteers, it was just flooded people come up.
That's it. And I'm a great believer in nobody should be doing stage shows unless they're clinically trained as well. I've always been a massive believer in that. I won't train anybody with stage hypnosis unless they're clinically certified as well. And that's because I know what it can do for people. I know, if you use it in the wrong way, it's like, a friend of mine explains it this way. It's like giving somebody a hammer, and they can either knock a nail in the wall with it, or they can come and smack you on the head with it.
Yeah.
Hypnosis is the same. You're giving them the tool that could be so dangerous in the wrong hands, and yet can be so useful in somebody else's hands.
Yeah.
And I always look at it that way. So, I'm so, to me, ethics, morals, values, integrity is huge in this field. So it all depends who's got it in their hands and what tools, because it is so, it can be so dangerous in the wrong hands.
Are there people out there that have taken advantage of that?
Absolutely, especially in the States. And I always point to people to on YouTube, if you put hypnosis gone wrong, and there's some of them on there that are just ludicrous, because too many people will just train anybody for the dollar. And the trouble is, what they're doing, they're giving them all these tools and all this stuff that can alter your mind, and they're doing it just for the dollar. Well, I won't do that. I truly believe we've got the most incredible tool, and if we use it in the right way, it can be so helpful. Yeah. And yet we can also make people laugh and have fun with it, and that's what I love. I love seeing people laugh. To me, laughter's the greatest medicine.
Oh, I lost it. I couldn't breathe. I was concerned for my well-being for a while because I couldn't get enough air. And
it's the funniest thing. Like I say, just to see some of the things they do, because they know what they're doing, but they don't think they're hypnotised because they can see everybody.
Yeah.
And they can hear everything, so they don't think they're hypnotised. But the moment you give them that suggestion, they carry it out.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why they've just carried it out, because they've already done it, and they go, well, what happened? Why am I doing that? What happened there?
Yeah.
It's like the men having the babies. They're pushing and pushing and truly believe they're having a baby.
Yeah.
And then the moment you go eyes open, wide awake, they're laying on the floor with their legs apart, and they've got a lady in between who thinks she's a midwife. Yeah. And they're going, what the? So it's the most incredible thing, and it's fun, absolute fun.
You'd have a blast. I can see that. I can see that you can, because obviously you've done your time on stage, so you know what works.
Yeah.
What's the most effective for the crowd, I guess, and also probably come across a whole different myriad of people.
Yeah.
And how they react, how they don't react.
Yeah.
On stage, like So just going back to the people who unethically use this.
Yeah.
Is this something you like have a prerequisite? So if I said to you, Mark, I'm really keen to do stage shows.
Yeah.
How do you sort of decipher those people? How do you qualify?
They've got to be certified first.
Yep.
Unless you're a certified clinical hypnotist, I won't train you.
Yeah.
So anyone that I've taught stage hypnosis to has either trained through me clinically, or they've trained through someone else and shown me their certificate, and I've got proof that they're certified clinical hypnotist. Because to me, you shouldn't be doing it otherwise. You just shouldn't be doing it. I've had people ring me, I've had people email me, and they've learnt something off the internet and then totally stuffed it up. I had a guy that, prime example, a guy. It's a bit of a long story, so I'll cut it very short.
No,
but
we've got time.
Excellent, good.
Yeah.
So in the wrong hands. So a guy learnt something off the internet, and he was using it on a girl in Canada. He was in Australia, and he was using it on a girl in Canada via Skype. And what he was doing was he was just practicing hypnosis on her. He then opened up a can of worms. She panicked. He said he'd actually done it about 3 times, but she panicked. He took her back to a childhood that was just terrible. So he opened up a can of worms. She panicked. Skype went dead. He couldn't get hold of her, tried ringing her, tried all these things, couldn't get hold of her. And so she's now left with this really bad memory being opened up by him, a can of worms, and he wasn't able to get hold of her. So he emailed me and just said, what do I do? I didn't even know him, but he knew of me. And I just said, well, firstly, don't piss around with it. It's not a toy. I said, secondly, you've opened up a can of worms. You need to get that girl to a professional hypnotherapist. And I said, thirdly, don't ever contact me again. Yeah. Because, it's so dangerous in the wrong hands.
Yeah. And you don't really want to be associated with that too. Like, what if that girl does something silly and you've been consulted on it?
Yeah, yeah. As a kid, I was a real rogue. I was a real street rogue, a young villain, a young everything. But as a clinical hypnotist, years and years later, as I grew up and got older, and I'm probably one of the most ethical hypnotists you'll ever meet, and that's what I want from all the students that take my courses. Yeah, I want them to be ethical. I want them to have integrity. I want them to have morals and values, and if they don't, then I sort of cut them out straight away. Yeah. So you don't want to be known as that person who's releasing this. It's almost like when you're controlling someone's mind, your mind's such a powerful thing that if you can gain control of it, or in the wrong hands, geez, that'd be. Oh, you've only got to think. Every single thing, to me, everybody uses it. All of the leaders use hypnosis or hypnotic language. So you've got, whether it's that phone going off over there. So you've got religious leaders using it. You've got politicians using it. You've got, all these people using hypnotic language, cults, all of these. In what way? Like, how's it? It's a point of focus. So hypnosis is a point of focus. Have you heard of the evangelists? Yeah, the Benny Hinns and people like that. No, okay, not enough to say yes. Oh, okay. Well, they're religious leaders. So basically, it's like any cult. Many religious leaders might use hypnotic language. Like they'll say to you, okay, so focus on a certain thing, and then they give you their spiel. And politicians do exactly the same thing. Politicians will play with hypnotic language and NLP so much. Yep. And it's such an easy thing once you've learned it to use, and some people use it in the wrong way. Hitler was one for that sort of speaking, wasn't he? That's it. I read a little bit about it. How he was, the way he spoke was really like almost trance-like. Yeah, where he would be so captivating. That's why he was such a powerful leader, because he was a captivating speaker. And if you think of any religions, what do? Yeah, religions are the same. They preach. Yeah, you sit there. Everyone's got to be quiet. You just listen to that one person that's preaching. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you go into a trance. You don't know you're going into a trance, but it's a very light trance, and that's it. And once you're in that trance state with the suggestions that people throw in there, it's you tend to take that on board. Yeah. And like you say, like Hitler, people like that, the amount of followers that he had, the Moonies, Hitler, people like it. Huge. Yeah. Scientology. Those sorts of religions, they use hypnotic language. Yeah. And whether people would agree with me or not, it doesn't matter. But I've actually seen a lot of it used.
Yeah, well, you'd know the tells, wouldn't you, or the alerts, or what's involved.
Absolutely.
In, getting people. That's crazy. I never really thought about that it's a state of hypnosis. But they have such drastic followers and people that just follow without even,
You've just
die-hard followers.
You've just said it. That's exactly it.
And Trent, that's nice. I do remember reading the Hitler part about how it was just, he used to get everybody in trance, and it was just like he wasn't exactly a fearless leader or anything like that. He just knew how to speak and how to rally the troops per se, and get everybody involved.
Well, even if you think like that's obviously the politicians, the war leaders, all of those people using hypnotic language, but then it's used. Even school teachers and people like that, they use hypnotic language without knowing they're using it sometimes. We all do. Every single person goes in and out of trance many times a day. Everybody.
Yeah.
If you're driving a car.
I was about to say that. Is that the same as
trance? Trance. You're going into trance. You get home before you realise, or to your destination without knowing. And then all of a sudden you look and you go, wow, I'm here already. What happened? That's because you went into a trance. When you're reading a book or looking at your phone, you're in a trance.
Yeah.
Basically.
You're in a trance,
seriously. But then that's probably porn he's looking at over there. So, but you're in a trance. Whenever you're reading a book and you're really engrossed in it, you fall into a trance. So when people call you from another room, they go, are you listening? John, are you hearing me? You go, oh, sorry. And they go, yeah, I've called you 5 times.
Yeah.
That's because you're in a trance. Watching a movie, same thing. We all go in and out of trance so many times a day. We just don't realise that we do.
Yeah. Is that something that you can harness? Like, if you want to, like with your obviously your skill, and you want to be, say you want to concentrate on something, or you want to really focus on, say, an audio book, or you want to focus on exactly what you're doing and go into that. Is a trance necessarily a bad thing where you stop, where you sort of switch off?
Oh, it's a great thing.
Or you can go into a good thing where you absorb everything and
absolutely. That's how we learn everything. Trance is basically slowing your brainwaves down.
Yep.
So when they're slowed down, obviously things go in there easier. And in that state of trance, it's like a meditation. So once you go into that meditative state, you basically start taking things on board much easier.
Yeah.
And that's because your conscious mind's not busy thinking of other things all the time. You're just in that nice, relaxed state.
Yep.
So things go on board much, much easier.
Yeah.
Oh, going into trance is fantastic.
Yeah. Is that something you utilise as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What do you utilise it for?
Oh, I might use it for. I build my visions on that. There's so many sports people and so many top people that use hypnosis or hypnotists, like sports hypnotists, sports psychologists.
Yep.
Because everything we do is mindset.
Oh, huge.
Every single thing, and many people think it's willpower you need. It's not. It's imagination. There's a great saying, imagination far outweighs any willpower that you've got. And it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you use your imagination, that's what becomes reality. And going into that hypnotic state, you're basically slowing all the brainwaves down and beginning to visualise things so much easier.
Yeah.
That's how it works. We build everything in life on pictures. So everything we do in life is built on pictures. We can't think of something without thinking of a picture first.
Yep.
Yeah, so if people don't realise, if I say to you, okay, just don't think of a pink elephant. Whatever you do, Jono, do not think of a pink elephant. You've got to think of that pink elephant before you try not to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah? So everything we do is built on pictures, every single thing. And it's like, it's like anything in life. It's all done through the imagination. Whether you think you can or you can't is another great saying. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
You're right, yeah. I love that one. Yeah,
it's a brilliant saying.
Yeah.
And hypnotic language and hypnosis is used to harness those sort of words.
Yep. Do you find sports people approaching you?
Oh, yeah, we see a lot of sports people. Yeah. I've actually got one of the hypnotist guys, an associate, he deals specifically in top-end sports people. Mm-hmm. And, we all deal, I deal a lot with very, very wealthy people because we're all the same, we're all the same. We all have these, we all second guess ourselves sometimes. We've all got issues and problems.
Yeah.
But it's what we do to resolve them that counts. If you look at sports people, even people like Tiger Woods, he's got a sports psychologist or a sports hypnotist. Yep. Many of them do because they get them to use their imagination in that relaxed state known as trance. So once they start using it, they then can create things so much easier. When their brainwaves are slowed down, when they've bypassed the critical mind. It's only the critical mind, the fight or flight mind, that gets in the way.
Yep.
The subconscious part of the mind believes it can do absolutely anything. Yep. So once you tap into it, that's why the people under hypnosis in the show, they'll do anything, because their subconscious mind, there's no inhibitions. The only inhibitions come from the conscious mind.
Yep.
So once you bypass that, they've got no inhibitions either. So that's how it works.
That's a pretty hot topic, is the mental mindset. Like you spoke about a guy like Tiger Woods. Golf's not, I guess you wouldn't call it an intense sport. Would you call it more of a sport where you need to be in that flow state, where he's probably feeling everything he does? I would assume something like tennis or cricket. Yeah. Batsmen, I would think, need to be in that flow state where they're just seeing everything, seeing as it comes.
Absolutely.
So I could see that would be a really beneficial thing. And like the fight or flight, like I'm reading a book at the moment about the same sort of thing. When I say reading, it's an audio book, but I'm still like to say I'm reading.
You're reading the cover.
Yeah, I'm reading the cover, yeah. And it's all about that fight or flight mode, where you can sort of choose which avenue you go down. When there's pressure, are you going to be fight or flight? Mm-hmm. I think the other one's freeze. Another one. He brings up another one called freeze, where you just basically sit and do nothing.
Yes.
At all. Yeah. It's probably the less common, or maybe the more common. But that whole mental stuff really, it's such a can of worms. Like I said before, once you open it, like you just can't. That's why I was sort of interested to speak to you about it too, because it seems like hypnosis and that sports psychology, they sort of work in amongst each other.
Absolutely.
Because when they're speaking and you're utilising the hypnosis, would it almost be like what's the word? Not like a scapegoat, but something you can rely on. Where if you're a sportsman, you go, okay, if I just go through my process that I've spoken with Mark about, we've gone through it, and I know that we've got this, and it will calm them down. Even if they're not necessarily entering a trance, they can sort of get themselves in that state because they know the process to go into it.
Yeah, because what you're doing, many people rely on their conscious mind to get them through. But really what they should be doing is just let the unconscious part of the mind do it, or the subconscious, as some people call it. A prime example is a fighter that I actually, he had 3 sessions with me. He'd been a Muay Thai fighter for 10 years, never won anything really of any, no sort of big trophies or belts or anything. He had 3 sessions. He then went out and won a national championship. Then he went out and won an even bigger title.
Yep.
So that's because we changed his mindset. We then got, we anchored things like the moment he steps into the venue, instantly, his subconscious mind then takes over. So his subconscious mind then takes over, and he learns everything. Everything he's learned over 10 years is there, but he just doesn't realise it's there as much as it is, because then he starts to second guess himself. Yep. This guy's bigger than me, or this guy's faster than me. But the subconscious part of the mind's going, I'm ready for this guy. No problem, let's do it.
I've done this 1,000 times over.
Exactly. And he does. And then all of a sudden, everything becomes an unconscious habit. Mm-hmm. And it's just done so quickly by the unconscious. So it's really a case of just let your unconscious mind take over.
Yep.
It's like the golfers, with their swing. If they just let the unconscious part of the mind do it, it will take over and they'll have a perfect swing.
Golf's such a mental game, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why hypnosis is so good for it.
Yeah. That's crazy. I've heard of that thing before with fighters as well. They, I know there's a mat before they enter into the ring or the cage or whatever it is, and as soon as they step on that mat, it becomes a different. You switch off, because obviously it was quite a famous fighter was saying that he wants to embrace the crowd. He was finding himself not embracing the crowd, he was just focused on it. But he said, I want to embrace it and get the energy from the crowd as I come in, because it's so huge. It's such a huge event. So he had a sports psychologist help him through, and then once he hit that mat, it just went dead silent. There's nothing else around him. And it's always it's such a
Oh, it's fascinating. What the mind can and can't do is just amazing. Seriously, it's so fascinating.
So your industry also, like we said about this so much, you're always learning. You can always add new parts to what it is you do. Is that right? So you're sort of always in a learning phase as well.
Yeah. Hypnosis has been around thousands of years. I personally, I'm an atheist, but if you look at people, if there was ever a Jesus, he would lay his hands on someone, say some certain words, and they're better. They're cured. So it's pretty similar to hypnosis. You sort of give certain suggestions to people, and you help to, I shouldn't use the word cure actually, but you help them get better.
Yep.
So hypnosis has been around for thousands of years. The ancient Egyptians used to have sleep temples thousands of years ago. So hypnosis has always been there, but there's always new things coming out all the time. And some hypnotists that died recently, Ron Rico, Martin St. James, all the great hypnotists of our time, Franklin, they'll tell you they were all learning, even at their age. You know, even at 80, 82, 94 was one of them. They were still learning about hypnosis. It's, you know, the mind is phenomenal.
So you go, when you start to become, when you think about that's what you want to do, what's the process? So you go, you have to then enroll. Is it like a school? Is it like a degree, or is it like a...
No degree. No. Yeah. So that's the only thing that they're trying to tighten it a bit, because it's not like psychology where you go and you do years and years of training. Hypnosis, you know, it has been around for years, but there's no real governing bodies for it.
Yeah.
So when people take a training course, they'll take it and it might be a 3-day course. We do a 3-day course. So we'll start off with, you know, we'll do a free self-hypnosis course. And then from that, if you really want to learn more about now hypnotising others, we can give you the basics of hypnotising others to help them. And then from that, you can go on to a more advanced course.
Yep.
So it's really, when people say you've got a gift, and there's no gift. That's not a gift. You know, you either have a passion for it or you don't.
Yeah.
Like anything. It's like saying that, you know, some of the sports people are gifted. Well, you ask those sports people if they think they're gifted, they'll say, well, if you know, working hard every single day for 16 years is gifted, then I'm gifted. It's hard work.
Yeah.
And the same as hypnosis. You put the hard work in, you get the good stuff out.
Well, experience counts for a lot, I would imagine, too, in your industry. So you've got how many years' experience?
What, nearly 17.
Yeah.
So nearly 17 years.
Yeah, so that, you know, that's a little bit different to a 3-day course too.
It is, but then I started on the 3-day course.
Yeah.
So when people say you can't learn that over 3 days, yeah, I did. And 17 years later, I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
So you can
still learning too.
That's it. Still learning. I'll always be learning.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. You know, the great thing is you'll always keep learning.
Yeah.
Always.
That's a great industry to be in too. One you can always keep learning in, because I suppose when you feel like you know everything, that's almost the decline, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, because it doesn't matter. You know, I always say to people, if you want to become a hypnotherapist, then you could work up until you're 80, 90 year old, as long as you've still got your faculties.
Yeah.
Because people respond more to an older type person as a psychologist or a hypnotherapist than they would a youngster.
Yeah.
So
I guess, that would make sense.
Yeah.
It'd feel a bit funny if you were lying on a bed sort of, a 19-year-old bloke's helping you.
Exactly, that's it, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, you know, it's like these life coaches. You get a 19-year-old life coach, and they'll go, you say, I'm a life coach. But you're 19, what have you done already? You know, so the older you are, if you then get a 50-year-old life coach, they've had some life, they've had experiences. Yeah. And that's the same as our industry. So the more experiences we've had, you know, the more people respond to that. Yeah. And they respect it, and it's like a law enforcement officer. You see some cops out there that are like 19, 20 years old. You think, imagine that person going to like a domestic violence. Yeah. You know, how's he going to be able to sort of empathise with the situation, or at least, you know, because it's always quite complicated. How's he going to be a 19-year-old telling this, you know, 40-year-old bloke telling him off? It just doesn't seem to work. No. As a stage hypnotist, it's different. Yep. You know, if you've got a young up-and-coming stage hypnotist, I'm just about to train another guy, and he's 28. Yeah. And he's already taken our certification course. He now wants to be a stage hypnotist. So at 28, he's absolutely fine. You know, he's a youngster. He's a good-looking guy. He's, you know, got a great persona about him. So he's going to be great. He's got brilliant. That's entertainment too, as well, though, isn't it? So if he's got a bit of charisma and everything on stage, that goes a long way. Yeah. So as a stage hypnotist, it'll be fine. As a hypnotist that's doing therapy, he might get a 50 or 60-year-old come to see him, and they might go, "Oh, who's this young kid think he is? Yeah. You know, what does he know about it?" Yeah. So big difference. Yeah, I can imagine. So you've got a book. Yeah. As well. What's that called? Rogue Hypnotist. The Rogue Hypnotist. So, now, what's that about? It's just about my life. It's so far. So the next one will be Rogues to Riches, and the Rogue Hypnotist is literally it's about adversities. We all go through adversities, every single one of us. So, you know, I went through domestic violence. I went through children's homes, detention
when you were young,
centres.
is that yeah.
So young offenders, prison, stuff like that. Because I was a big car thief. I grew up in a really bad environment, so that's about adversity. So we all go through them, and it's what we do to come out of them that counts. And then it's what we do to change our life if we choose to. You've got a left and a right path. So if you want to carry on down the left path, I remember when the judge, he put me away 3 months, and he said, look, you're either going to go in and out of prison for the rest of your life, or you're going to change your life and go down the right road and change your life completely. And that's what I did. So at the age of 18, I got put away in the Young Offenders Institute, came out of there, totally changed my life.
So when did you start offending?
From 5-6 years old.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Were you allowed to roam around, or?
Yeah, I was a street. I mean, and that's why it's called the rogue hypnotist, because I really was a complete rogue as a kid. Yeah. I went through. I saw some horrible things. But
whereabouts in the UK?
Yeah. So I grew up in the streets of London, southeast London, single mum. And even when we had a stepdad, that was where the domestic violence came from.
Yeah.
And then so we saw that, see mum nearly getting beaten to death many times.
Wow. Yeah.
And so when you see all that, it toughens you. And then as you go through life, obviously you then think it's okay to do certain things yourself. And I had my first puff on a cigarette at 5 years old. So all of that stuff, and you learn by it. So I don't look back at it now and go, fuck, it's horrible. I look back at it and go, man, there's some great learnings there. Yeah. So the reason for the book was to let people know it doesn't matter what you go through. Every one of us, I'm sure, has been told at one time, you'll never amount to anything. I was told that time and time again. Now I'm one of the most successful hypnotists in Australia. So we can go through certain things, but you know what? We can always choose. Life's about choices. And I always say there's 3 things: take ownership with the things you do wrong, take ownership with the things you do right, and it's all about choices. Your choice. If you choose to do the wrong thing, take ownership. Choose to do the right thing, take ownership. Be proud that you've done the right thing. Yeah. But don't blame everyone else.
Do you see that a lot in your industry, people not taking ownership?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, so much.
It's crippling, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. And also, I think sometimes people put the blinkers on to ownership.
Yeah, of course they do.
So they don't. It's almost like they don't even know they need to take. There's I look at it as there's people that know they need to take ownership of something.
Yeah.
And people that just don't even know.
Yeah.
And which is almost more dangerous than knowing.
It is, but then if you point them in the right direction, you'll find once you make them realise they've got to take ownership. I actually saw someone the other day, and she was at my last show. She's become a big fan. She's absolutely adorable. She's in her 60s, in one of these mobility chairs, etc. She's a beautiful lady. And I saw her down at Helensvale 2 days ago. And she said, the reason I love you is because you're such a caring person. She said, blah, blah. And I said, look, and she said, and I always thank God for people like you, and thank God for this and thank God for that. I said, okay. She said, and you obviously thank. I said, look, I'm not religious. I will be honest with you. Yeah. I said, I'm also somebody that I do care about. I love people. I truly love people a lot. But I'm very sympathetic, and I do. But the only thing is, once I've shown people things, if they don't go away and use those tools, if they keep whinging and bitching about the world owes them a favour and the world's done this to them, I don't have time for that. Yeah. That's
called an arsehole.
It's called a what?
An arsehole.
What's that?
They ask for your opinion.
Yeah.
And then they don't pay for it. It's called an arsehole.
Is that right? Okay, I've never heard that saying, but yeah,
I saw it on a meme once, and I thought that's perfect. That's
excellent.
Because it's frustrating, isn't it? You offer advice, and they ask for advice, and they desperately want it.
Absolutely.
They do the opposite. That's an arsehole.
Well, it's like
you can use that one if you want.
I like it a lot. And I will, because I do. My next book, Rogues to Riches, is going to be about those types of things. Take ownership, because if you do, you'll be able to see the world in so much better place. It's like me. I can see you. Yeah. That means we've got eyesight. I can hear you. It means we can hear. We're going to get up and we're going to walk in a minute out of here. We've got our legs. We've got our health. That's riches. As a street rogue, I never saw any of that. Everything, the riches that I saw when I was young was me stealing a car and getting the money for that car that I just stole, or something else, or going to steal something out of a store and going to sell it. That was riches, because it was that monetary riches. Yep. Now I see the real riches. I've got 4 kids. I adore my children so much. You know, that's, as you know, I took them the other day, but that's the most important riches somebody could ever have is the family, your health. They're riches. They're real riches. We're sitting in here now. The riches are that we're all sitting in here together. You know, the riches are that whatever you're doing today, you've got time to come and do this. That's riches. I mean, that is such riches, you know.
There's a Bob Marley quote that when someone asked him about money, like how rich are you? And he sort of said, I don't look at money like that. He goes, some people are so poor that all they have is money.
Yeah. Yes.
And I liked it when I heard that because I thought
that's brilliant.
That makes sense too because it's not everything. Yeah. You know, like you said, and there's another one too. Like when you're sick, all you only want one thing. One thing in the world is to be healthy again.
That's right.
When you're healthy, you want all the stuff, but just be sick.
Yeah.
Once you're sick, you're like, oh God, I just need to be healthy. Yeah. I don't want anything else.
You've only got to look at Steve Jobs.
Yeah, well,
multi-billionaire, didn't have his health. Yeah. That's it. I lost a friend last year. He was a multi-millionaire, started with nothing. This is how precious time is. This is the riches we have when we've got things like this. And he went into hospital. He worked in the Philippines. He had a business over there. And he came back here for 3 days. Literally, he came over for a week to spend time with his family. He had a lovely wife and 3 kids. His business partner said, look, there's something wrong with you. You're not looking right. He took him into hospital to get a few tests. He was in there 3 days and died. Wow. Early 40s. Yeah.
Wow. What did he die of?
He had cancer, riddled with cancer. Wow. Started with a backache and then a stomach ache. And then they found out he was riddled with it. He looked really, really ill, and that's
like a progressive thing.
Yeah, 3 months. It took. So for 3 months he was really ill. Came over here and his partner said, "You look really rough." He said, "I've got to take you to hospital to get some tests." Took him in. 3 days later, dead. That's how precious time is. That's the riches. We've got our health. I'm sure all 3 of us here have got our health. That's such riches, you know. And I look at it that way. So the road to riches is just letting people know that the real riches are the things around us. You know, I look at the sky, and if it's grey, if it's cloudy, I look above it and go, the bluest the blue sky above there. That's riches. So that's how I look at riches now.
We don't do it too tough here in Australia.
Oh, you're kidding. Really, it's the greatest country in the world. I love it.
Even this bit, like one from New Zealand originally, same thing over there. It's like, I often watch the news and see the way people are, like what's happening overseas. I think, man, we're so fortunate to be here. Yeah. Because it's just such a, you know, we have our freedom. We're able to walk outside. The air's fresh. Yeah. Well, not that much at the moment with that smoke, but it, you know, like it's, and people don't really look at that. I think sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I try my best just to stop. Yeah. If this is the worst thing that happens today,
that's it.
It's probably not that bad of a day.
No.
But I mean, it's easy to think like that sometimes. But
it is. Yeah. I worked in Pakistan years ago.
Well, and been an experience.
It was fantastic. I love it. I'd live there tomorrow. But
Pakistan?
I loved it, honestly. Yeah, the people, the food, everything
Isn't
about it.
Isn't that a dangerous place to be?
It is now.
Oh,
yeah, it wasn't when I... No. So, but we were staying in a hotel, really nice hotel, but you'd look out the hotel window and on the roofs of the houses, you know, and all these buildings, you'd see all these little wooden beds. And at night, the people would come, they'd sleep on that bed, they'd get up. That was their home, a bed on a roof. That was it.
Yep.
You know, what riches is that? They'd go out begging the next day, up, no washing, no nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sitting here with a glass of water. That's riches.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's incredible. So the new book, Rogues to Riches, is just all about that.
Yeah. But being thankful and appreciative for what you have.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. So with your childhood, I don't know if you speak on it very much.
Yeah, it's all in the book.
It's all in the book. I don't want to spoil it.
It's all in there. No, it doesn't matter to me.
I read the book. I will get it. Is it on audio?
Oh, I'll give you a copy. If you're a reader, it is. I've just brought it out on audio. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's good. But yes, I'd love that. That'd be great. But with your childhood, like you said, you were out on the street from very very young. What was sort of the interaction you had on the street? Were you obviously had a home to go to at night?
Yeah.
But it was just basically by the sounds of it, you weren't really accounted for.
No,
you were just let to be able to do what you want.
Absolutely.
No boundaries, no nothing. Which is, as you know, with children, it's a pretty dangerous thing to bestow upon them as no boundaries.
Oh yeah, no, you'd go through so much. You know, you could go out and do anything. I mean, I set fire to things. I'd steal cars. I'd do. Yeah. It was ridiculous. There was no control.
Why were you doing that?
I suppose attention, because I wasn't getting it at home. You know, like many kids. So when you do that, you know, even to go and get caught by the police. If you got caught stealing a car or stealing something or breaking in somewhere, you'd say, well, it wasn't them, it was me.
Yeah.
Just to get that more attention on yourself. And that's what we do is, when you've got nothing growing up, you tend to get the attention from other places. It's like having a dog.
Yeah.
You know what it's like. They say any attention's attention. So the dog goes out in the garden and, you walk out and you don't pat it. So the dog goes, oh, fuck this, all right, I'll find another way of getting attention from you. I'll go and dig a hole then.
Yeah.
So it digs a hole and you go, get out of there. Yeah. But really what he's going, oh, I've got attention. I'll go and dig another one. So you're just looking for any sort of attention as a kid. And that's what I did, like many of us. And then you'd get, I got the love from so many bizarre places, from the most ridiculous bizarre places like a family of gypsies that I grew up with for years.
Yeah.
They're rough as guts, these gypsies, the ones that I grew up with. But I got more love from them than I did at home. So you tended to sort of just shop around as a rogue, street rogue, and you'd come across all these different things. Other friends got the love from drugs. I lost 4 friends to heroin. So all of these things you sort of look for, and anything that you can make good of or think you're getting good from, you're actually not, but most of the time you think you are. So any sort of attention or anything that you think is making you feel better, you'll take.
Do you take a lot of inspiration with your parenthood as well from that? Because obviously you got no attention, you look for attention in all the wrong places. Now, being a parent,
Oh, I say to my kids, if you want attention, please make it good attention.
Yeah.
Don't make it bad attention. One of my boys is being quite naughty at school, but I didn't see him for 7 years, and I think it's now projecting. This is what's happening. So I didn't see them for 7 years, 2 of my boys, only because of an angry, bitter ex, as many people go through. So now I've started seeing him, and he's sort of being a bit naughty at school. So that's the wrong sort of attention. And this is what I say to him. It's the wrong sort of attention you're seeking. I hug and kiss them and tell them I love them every single time I see them, all the time. But now he's sort of seeking more attention. So he's now doing things that he shouldn't be doing. So that's what I'm going to work on with him. I found out now what he actually likes at school. So now we're going to get him more into that.
Yep.
But we seek attention from anywhere if we don't get it at home.
Yeah.
And I see people in my office that are like that as well. Clinically, they've not had attention for years, never been hugged, never been told they've been their parents love them, none of that. And that's what we do. We have to cut through all of that, and then we have to get to the real reason that they're playing up or getting the wrong attention.
Yeah.
And that's all it is with many people that are in prison or detention centres.
Yeah, hugely. Yeah, exactly. It's such a difficult thing, parenthood. Yeah. I always say it's the most difficult job you'll ever do, and it doesn't come with any sort of manual.
No.
Like, you don't get given a manual when you leave the hospital.
Yeah.
And,
it's the hardest
here's
job
the best
in the
way to
world.
do it,
Yeah.
You got to try and bring this child up with the least amount of baggage possible, which is
Yeah.
impossible. They're always going to have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
And I guess that then they have to come and see you to weed through all the shit that they've had to deal with.
Yeah.
So obviously growing up, we went through that. You had really tough times, and so in your teenage years, you were still acting up, but what knocked it on the head? Same prison?
Yeah. So the day the judge said, he said to me, because I was in and out of detention centre every weekend.
Yep.
So what they would do, they'd put me in detention centre Friday, I'd come out Sunday. So I was in and out there pretty much every weekend for months. And then one day a judge just had enough of it, and he said, I'm going to give you a thing called a short, sharp shock. He said, and you'll either go one way or the other. And that's when he said to me, you'll either go down the left path of destruction and be in that prison the rest of your life, or you take a different path. It took me a while to change it, but I changed it. As soon as I got in that detention centre, that young offenders prison, I just went, nah, this ain't for me.
Yeah.
And I've got friends that are in and out there all the time in the UK, and that's all they've done.
So some of your friends from your childhood are still...
Yeah, there's nobody that I've grew up with that's done what I've done in life. It's nobody.
Yeah.
Even some of my family, they're still on the dole. Some of my family, and it's it's all choice.
Yeah.
And that's what I say to them. Life's about choice. One of my sisters is, she's put on a lot of weight and she's doing the wrong things, I've got another sister who's just come out of prison she was in there for murder. Wow. So she's just come out. Yeah. She's doing better. But that's just the life we grew up with.
Shit.
Yeah. So it's, life's about choice. And that's what I say. Choice is massive to me. It's and taking ownership.
You can tell as well your environment counts for a lot as well growing up too. Because you're in an environment, it sounds like the environment you were in, it's hard to get out of that environment. If you're surrounded by successful people, positive people, it can't help but rub off.
Yeah.
But if you're surrounded by people who are doing shit things,
absolutely,
you're just going to do.
You've just said it.
Shit things.
That's it. Yeah. It's all about the environment. That's how I knew I had to move away from that environment, and I did, and it took me a long time.
So how long have you been over here for, Australia?
17 years.
So you pretty much started hypnosis once you arrived?
Yeah. I'd always had an interest. I'd always had an interest in the mind for years. And I didn't realise at the time that some of the stuff that I was saying was hypnotic language. And I've always been somebody that's not a salesman, I wouldn't say a salesman, but somebody that I can, because I like people so much, so sometimes it may be convincing.
Yeah.
I can convince people to do things, like sell me something at a fraction of the cost, or that sort of thing.
Bit of a hustler.
A bit of a hustler, definitely a hustler. That's how I had to grow up.
Yeah.
So even when I used
such a English street, like you see all the movies, like the movies I've seen of like the English streets and London street. Everybody's hustling on the corner doing things, And
that's it, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But that's your survival. That's how you survive.
Yeah.
So to me, the hustle, like you say, the hustle part is how we had to do it. And then, you make your choice. You either change and go one way or the other. And I chose one way, and many of my friends went the other way still.
Yeah.
But I don't regret anything. I regret, sorry, I shouldn't say that, because I do regret. I regret some of the things that I've done, as in stealing cars and, taking things out of the cars. But I was young, reckless, a complete street rogue.
With survival too.
Yeah.
So you could probably fob a little bit off to survival.
Yeah,
that's the only way you knew how.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was the only way I knew how.
Yeah.
And did it.
And if you're not getting provided for at home as well, you've got to provide for yourself.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like many people say, I bet you hate your mum for putting you in children's home. But no, not at all. I was in there 4 years, and I don't regret it. I don't hate her. In fact, I adore her to pieces so much. She did what she had to do. Yeah, she did what she had to do. When you see her getting beaten literally every day, and so she had 3 of us at home. I had a brother in Italy, and so she did what she had to do. I was uncontrollable, so I was the one that got put in there. No regrets at all.
Yeah.
No, and there's definitely no hatred.
That's also like probably when you're growing up, you probably weren't too pumped about having to go to a boys' home or anything like that. But as an adult, when you become a parent, you probably then your sympathy changes, isn't it? You think, Jesus, she did it pretty tough. I can see how that was an option.
Yeah. I was speaking to a guy today just before I came to this podcast. Down at the Vintage, believe it or not. He's another hypnotist, so he's the one that I'm going to stage train soon. And he was telling me about his mum. He hasn't spoken to his mum for 3 years because he had all these arguments with her and everything. And I said, look, you've got one mum. If all she's ever done was shout and scream at you because she's going through a tough time, so what?
Yeah.
It was his only reason for not talking to his mum for 3 years. And I said, okay, so if she dies tomorrow, what are you going to do? Would you be sad? He said, I'd be gutted. I said, well, don't sit here talking like this. Go and speak to her then.
Because it's easy to bury your head in the sand.
Absolutely. It is so easy.
It's quite common too. The more I dive into it, people that have that relationship, they just bury their head in the sand and think, oh, it'll deal with itself.
Yeah.
And it never does. Because that's the hardest thing to do, isn't it, is approach it. And that's, my wife's big on that. She's like, knock it on the head.
Yeah.
Approach it, get into it, change that thing. And it's because it's the easy option to just do nothing about it.
And again, there you go, choices.
Yeah.
That's your choices.
The difficult conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't have any problem, to me, I'm like your wife. But get it out of the way. Let's just face it. Let's just get it out of the way. Let's just deal with it. Whether you're going to get a smack in the mouth for doing it, for dealing with it that way or not, that's, you'll find out in a minute.
Yeah.
But that's it. You've got to do it though.
Yeah. I guess then you develop the respect from that person, but also respect for yourself because you know that you're capable of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely the easy option, but
I think also you've got to go through certain adversities to realise how good you've actually got it.
Yep.
You know, because if you can go through certain adversities and then come out the other side and then use those adversities to push you forward in a more successful way, I don't think adversities do anybody any harm. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think it strengthens a lot of people.
Do you find that it's something I deal with, giving your kids the easiest life? And because I think the same thing, I think adversity is a real motivator for a lot of things. Like most of the interesting people that are successful have a story of adversity or have something that they've had to overcome. But then you want to give your kids everything they need and make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
And I think
I knew you were just going to say that.
I constantly think about it. I'm like, man, my girls have got it very, very easy. Yeah. And they don't want for anything really. Like it's, there's always a roof over their head, food on the table if they want it. Yeah. And I'm like, geez, am I breeding a person that's not able to overcome things? Yeah. And that's, do you find that with your children? Well, especially coming from where you've come from. Yeah. So what's your adversity has enabled you to have a tenacity or a hustle to get things done. Well,
I think I was just going to say last week when we were meant to get together, the reason I cancelled is because my little girls literally at 7:05 in the morning text me and said, "Dad, will you come watch our swimming carnival?" Yeah. And because I only get them every second week, I wanted them to be happy. Yeah. And I wanted them to know that I'll be there for anything. Yep. And sure enough, we obviously cancelled the podcast so that I could drive up to Brisbane and go and watch them. Mm-hmm. So to me, if that's giving them everything just because they've asked for it, then I'm happy to do that. Yeah. If they ask me for a brand new microphone just for the sake of asking me for no, you're not getting it. I won't do things like that, but I'll do anything else that's going to help them. Yeah. So, it's, I suppose, we do, I want them to be tough. It's like my son, the one that's playing up. Some people on this podcast are probably going to go, oh, you shouldn't be saying that, but he got dragged out of one of his lessons by the teacher. Mm-hmm. And the teacher dragged him out because I know without a doubt my son was mouthing it off to the teacher. Yep. And I used to be like that at school. I was horrible to the teachers. And that's something else that I'm not proud of. But he was dragged out of the class and somebody said to me, are you going to go up to school and have a go at the teacher? And I said, no. I said the teacher should have kicked him up the arse and dragged him out. I said, I've no time for that. Because to me, the kids are too soft. Yeah. That's what I don't want my kids to be, too soft. To think that if my eldest son pushes my younger son, who's 13, nearly 14, he'll go, I'm going to call childlike, and he's serious. I'm going to call, that's bullying. Yeah. What a load of crap. That softens them up too much. Yeah, yeah. So that sort of thing I'm not keen on. But giving them other things, no problem. Yeah. But making them soft, I don't like that.
We dealt with the same sort of thing with mine, but it was more like if there was an issue in the classroom, all they want you to do is go down and sort it out. Mm-hmm. So there's no way, because every time you have an issue, you're going to call on me. I said, it can't happen like that. Yep. You deal with it yourself. Yep. When that line gets stepped over, then that's my job. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy that then I'll do my job. But up until then, you're on your own. Yep. You really are on your own. You have to, because like in the workplace or socially, you've got to be able to navigate those people, because there's all different people. And a lot of the stuff in school is just insecure children. Yeah. That's all it is. Yeah. And getting that through to them. Every child in that school is insecure. Yeah. And everybody absorbs it or, projects that a different way. Yeah. And that's really hard to explain, but to the kids, but that's what has to happen. Yeah. You're just going to have to deal with it.
Well, you've only got to look at, anything now is bullying. Anything. And I do understand some of it is bullying, and it's such a shame because some kids, I've seen some kids come into my clinic and they're really suffering through cyberbullying or something. It's
brutal.
It's horrible. Yeah. And hence the reason why Facebook actually now doesn't let you see how many likes I've got on one of my posts, because they say if you've got more likes than me, or if I've got more than you, it turns into a bullying thing. Oh, I've got 50 likes, you've only got one. That means you're a loser. And that's all it takes nowadays. But that's how soft society's becoming with certain things. But apart from that, I'm quite tough on the kids, and they don't get everything. No. But that's what's making them soft, things like that.
It's so hard because you see them upset and you want to say, well, toughen up.
Yes.
But you got to toe that line, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
I constantly think about it. It does my head in.
Yeah.
Because I just want to breed this tough, tenacious, especially girls. You want them to not be pushovers.
Yeah.
And I'm breeding pushovers.
Yeah, but that's what you think. Yeah, because we mollycoddle them, especially girls. I mollycoddle my little girls. But then, if they fall, one of them had her toenail hanging off the other day. She kicked something in her toenail and she was crying. And I said, come on, darling, let's have a look. Anyway, it was hanging off a bit. And I said, you're all right, come on, let's put a Band-Aid around it and off you go. But I know other kids that just burst into tears and their mums and dads, come here, and they mollycoddle them. It doesn't touch them.
It's a reaction. They're waiting for a reaction from the parents to find out whether this is suitable to cry about.
Yeah, that's it.
So do you, in your practice, do you get many children coming in?
I do, yeah. So I've seen kids from 6 years old, believe it or not, 6 years and older. It's just incredible.
Is that by like you embrace 6-year-old children coming in, or is it?
Yeah, I do. It's not something I deal with a lot. Because there's other specialists out there, other hypnotists that specialise in kids. So they'll specialise in kids because there's so many things. It's called metaphors, which are stories, as you know. So if you tell a kid a metaphor story, it's like, because most kids can't concentrate and focus for a hypnotherapy session.
Yep.
But if you read them a story and put hypnotic language in there, that will then work like a session. So there's people out there, hypnotherapists, that deal specifically with kids. But there's so many kids that are going through anxiety and stress at 6 years old. 6 years old, Jono. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it?
It's horrible. Horrible.
Did kids go through that in the 80s and 90s, though, like anxiety, or was it just considered something different?
It's probably labelled something different back then.
Yeah, toughen up.
Toughen up. I was just going to say exactly the same words. Yeah, toughen up. Yeah,
that must be hard to see. So it's predominantly anxiety that young children come in for, or what's
for the bullying and stuff. But it's the bullying. Some of it isn't really bullying, but it's classed as bullying now.
Yeah.
You've got so many.
Do you just feel like saying, "Oh well, I'm going to prescribe you just toughen up"?
I have. I do say that. I've had people walk out of my office.
Yeah.
I believe in tough love. I love people. I truly love people a lot, but I believe in tough love. And my sessions, people recommend other people to me because I do believe in tough love. And I had a woman recently that brought a child to me. The child was 13, and the child wouldn't get out of her bedroom, was always sleeping on the floor in her bedroom, in her mum's room, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I said to the mum, okay, you need to do this, this and this. So she had to come back for the next session. I said, did you do it? No, I just couldn't do it. No, I said, that's it, we're done then.
Yeah.
Done. If you can't do the basics that I'm asking you to do, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
So that was tough love. I just said, no, we're done then. I said, you need to take her somewhere else.
That's like the arsehole before, isn't it?
Yeah,
she asked for your opinion and didn't do it.
That's it.
That's that must be a frustrating dynamic as well when you have a parent and a child come in.
Yeah.
But the parent's the problem.
It's the
And you're like, do you feel like saying to them, well, next time just you. The child can stay home.
Yeah, I do. I actually say to people, look, I think it's actually you that needs to come see me.
Yeah.
Because it is. Most of the time it's the parent.
How does that go down?
Not very well sometimes, but that's fine. I'm not there to make friends. I'm there to help you, either your child or yourself. And that's what we do, we get it sorted in the end. We get it sorted because they then realise that maybe it is them.
Well, that's it. Do you think that sometimes also people come to hypnosis as a last resort?
Many times.
Like they've tried everything else and you're also thinking, I can imagine I'm sort of trying to be in your mind here. When people come in, you feel like saying, well, this could have worked at the first person you consulted, but you just haven't taken anybody's opinion. So whatever you say is not going to help because they're not going to put anything in place.
No, they don't. And that's the problem. So many people, they might have been to another hypnotist.
Yeah.
And they'll come and say, well, hypnosis didn't work for me. And you go, okay, well, did you do what the hypnotist said? Yeah, mostly. No, did you do everything the hypnotist said? Not every day. Or did you say you didn't do everything the hypnotist asked you to? No. Okay, well, there you go. It didn't work then.
Yeah.
It's funny how it worked. Yeah. Exactly. It's like turning on the microphone and then turn it off and go, is that working now?
Yeah.
Well, it's off. We'll turn it on then. Still not working. Have you turned it on yet? No. Okay, we'll turn it on and it'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. Once you do what they've asked you to do, it'll work.
So would you consider it a form of counselling?
Yes. Yeah, yes. A lot of the pre-talk is counselling. Yeah. So the pre-talk, if somebody comes to see me for a session, the first session is always 2 hours because the first part is is probably about an hour pre-talk.
Yeah.
I always believe that every one of us is born with a full jigsaw in our heads as our mind. So as we go through life, we've all got a thing called a timeline, our past, present and future. As we go along that timeline, certain events happen to us, and it could be a really bad event. So a piece of that jigsaw is flicked out, and then we fill that part of where that piece of jigsaw has come out with something negative. So it might be drugs, alcohol, negative thoughts, depression, whatever. So we've got to go back and find that piece of jigsaw, find out when the event happened, what happened to it, and then we need to come forward and put something positive in there now to fill that gap.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. Many people go through their life and a piece of jigsaw's flicked out and they fill it with negatives. So
it's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, well, it's exactly how I believe it works. I truly believe we work that way. A piece of that jigsaw is flicked out and we fill it with a negative.
Yep.
Instead of going back and trying to find it and then fill it with a positive.
Yep.
And that's what we do. So people do look at it as a last resort, come to a hypnotist. And when they do and they find out that, I mean, I've seen things that are classed as miracles. You know, I've helped people that have had strokes walk again and talk again, and it's classed as a miracle, you know, and that's how I look at the mind is so powerful.
Yeah.
And yet we don't use it enough. Yeah.
What's the most popular things people do come and see you for? Like, obviously the quit smoking is a fairly popular one that I would assume people come a lot for.
Yeah.
What sort of other things can you help with?
Anxiety, stress, stop smoking, lose weight, like I say, sports, confidence.
Yeah.
Many things. You know, just a basic mindset change.
Yeah. Just jigsaw.
Yeah, that's it.
Filling in that jigsaw.
Finding them pieces that are missing and putting them back.
Yeah. If you think about your mind that way, that's quite a powerful way of looking at it. Now that I think about it, like such a small thing can make just take that little part out and never better until you fill that back in.
Yeah.
No one's probably ever going to have a full jigsaw.
No.
Yeah.
But you know, when that piece has been flicked out, fill it with something positive. But we don't. We tend to fill it with negatives until we find out there's something like hypnosis that can help us now fill it with positives. And that's the way it works.
Scary to think about the parenting thing we were talking about before.
Oh,
you know, you imagine your children with a full jigsaw.
Yeah.
You think, God, I'm just trying to keep that thing intact.
Yeah.
But
it's hard. It's so hard. And until people have had kids, they don't realise how hard it is. You know, when you've got kids and you're trying to do everything the right way so that they don't get hurt or don't this and that, you know, it's so hard. You try and keep that full jigsaw as a full jigsaw with them, and you can't.
It's going to haunt me, that jigsaw now. Huh? It's going to haunt me, that jigsaw now that I think about it.
Shouldn't have invited me near there, mate.
You're scaring me. You're putting me in some sort of trance. But the with you get a lot of travel too within your industry too, with your shows and everything you get to go around to. Like, did I see you on a cruise ship?
Yeah, I'm on another one in 3 days as well. So I've been doing the cruise ships for about 7 years. So I work for 5 different cruise lines. I've been away as far as Hawaii and places like that on the cruises, but I've stopped doing that as much now. I'm focusing more on stuff on land. Yeah. But I love it. I've been so lucky, you know, and I can treat people anywhere in the world that if they speak English, I can treat them. Yeah. So even if you go away anywhere in the world, as long as they can speak English, then you've got a tool that you can actually help them with. Yeah. So when you're on the ships, do you do shows at night? Yep, and then do you do consultations during the... No, because I did when I first started on the ships, but the trouble is many people want you to go back to their cabin to treat them. It's something you just don't do. Yeah. No, you just don't do that. Yeah. So I stopped doing that. That could be a dangerous... Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what we were talking about earlier. You know, when there's hypnotists that are getting done for certain things... You don't want to put yourself in that situation. Yeah. So I stopped doing it. I constantly think like that now. Yeah, I don't put myself in any situation where I can be, you know, accused of anything. Yeah, I just stay the hell away from it, because there's just so many weirdos out there that'll try something on you, or you know, accuse you of something that never really happened. Yeah. Oh, well, I record every session. Yeah. So every single session that I do and every show that I do, I record. Yeah. And I had something happen on one of the ships, and a guy was sitting in the audience, and then he wrote to, it was Royal Caribbean that was on at the time. He wrote to them and said, this hypnotist said this to 2 young girls on stage. These girls were 21. He said they were about 21, and he said this. And I knew I hadn't said it because it was something filthy. and I knew I don't do filth. I do naughty, but not filth.
Yeah.
And so it was an adult show, and I sort of went back and I found the guy, and it turns out the guy was actually a psychologist, and many psychologists don't like stage hypnotists or hypnotherapists. And this guy wrote to Royal and said I did these things. So I sent Royal my recording of the show, and I said, look, I know I didn't say it. I said, but to make you feel more at ease, and I said, there you go, there's a recording.
Yep.
And they just wrote back to the guy and said, no, sorry, there's just no way. So people will try and put you in trouble sometimes, and that's why I record everything, every single thing.
You know, my favourite TV show for a while there was The Mentalist.
Yeah, fantastic, wasn't it?
I love that show for a bit there. He was a good actor in it anyway. Yeah. But I often look at like that whole Mentalist. I'm not sure if it'd be offensive if I added that into it.
No, not at all.
But Mentalist and sort of that whole mind control, or being, it's not even mind control, it's more just understanding the way people think.
Yep.
You know, a lot better than they probably know how they think themselves.
Yeah.
And that counts for a lot. And I look at people like you and think like, that's probably why people were considered that in the olden, like years and years ago, hundreds of years ago, who could control the mind or could think about things like that.
Yeah.
And they were, you know, they famous, they were toured because they could do things like that.
Yeah.
Is that something you research a lot about, like the old ways people used to do things?
Yeah, I did, because I believe that, like I say, it's because it's been around for thousands of years, hypnosis, the mind, the mentalism, it's all, you know, there's different names for it.
Yeah,
some people
Alienist.
Quackery. Yeah, exactly. Alienist.
Yeah, there's a new show on Netflix about that. An Alienist.
Is there really?
Yeah, you should see it. It's really good. Really good.
Do you know who's in it?
Yes. No.
No. Well, there was another one called
If you show me a picture, I'll show you who it is. But yeah, that guy. But it's really good. It's about when you were a doctor of the mind back in, it must be in the 1700s or 1800s, you were considered an alienist.
Yeah.
Rather than you probably know that, rather than a psychologist, I suppose. And it's about him, and he's got to try and solve a murder.
Wow.
That's really, really well done.
Well, again, see what you're doing.
It's pretty heavy. Don't let your kids watch it. It's pretty.
Yeah, see, I don't let kids. No.
Don't get them. No, it's rough, but it's worth watching.
Alien. I'll look it up. Yeah, I will look it up. I love that.
Yeah, so do I. That whole thing intrigues me, the way that I resist trying to say that people back then were dumb, but they just didn't know. So they believed a lot more because they couldn't, prove a lot more. So guys like alienists and mentalists got away with a lot more tricks and things like that.
They did, yeah. Well, that's the same as these. Do you remember I was saying about the religious leaders, like the Benny Hinns and people like that? That's the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
They're using hypnosis. And even some of the things they're using, the hypnosis that they're using on the crowds and their audience, although people say that's not hypnosis.
Yeah.
It's pure hypnosis.
Yeah.
And that's still going on today. But people will believe certain people, especially if that person is of a certain status.
Yep.
And, and hypnotic language, when you've got that status, if you use it right, or in fact some people use it wrong, but if you use it at all, it can be so powerful. So years ago, like you said, the alienists and people, it was used, but maybe in the wrong way years ago.
Yeah.
And now that's why I really want anyone I train to be as ethical as they can be, because it can be, it can be used in the wrong way sometimes.
Have you had anyone like, I know you deal with sports people and people trying to better themselves and people trying to get better.
Yeah.
Have you had any public speakers come and
many.
learn from you?
Yeah, many. Yeah. I was petrified of the mic when I was young.
Yeah.
Petrified. I remember one of the first things that I ever did, I did a sales gig where the guy said to me, right, I want you to stand outside the Woolworth store. He had a pop-up stand, and I want you to put this headphone on, this headset, and he said, and you've got to sell, it was a load of moody gold, like moody jewellery, and dodgy jewellery. And he said, you've got to entice the people to the stand and then sell them jewellery. So I got on there and I absolutely lost it. And I panicked and I stuttered and I sweated and I got anxious. I just took the headset off and went, fuck this, and I walked off and left all the stuff on the stand. I walked off and thought, I ain't doing that. But now I perform in front of thousands and thousands of people, and public speaking to me now is so easy.
Yep.
And that's why many public speakers come to see me, because I have been through it. If I can relate to many people, if someone comes to me and they've got a public speaking issue, I've been there, I've done it, so I can relate to them. If they come to me and they've been through domestic violence, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
If they come to me and they've been through smoking issues, I can relate to that. I used to be a 30-day smoker. Weight issues, I used to be 16 kilos heavier. So I can relate to many, many of the things that the clients come see me for.
Yep.
And that makes them feel at ease even more. So the public speaking ones, many people come to see me for that.
Do they come and see you to not just get over the fact that they have to public speak? Public speaking is one of the biggest fears of people.
Yeah.
For that, but also techniques to make themselves more not Hitler, but like those people who are a lot more I'm sure I come up with a better example, Stalin or something. All those, but people on stage, like you can be a bit more effective. Yeah. On stage.
Yeah, you can. But I've never been trained. I've literally learned everything myself. Public speaking to me it's that true you. That's real. That real you. If I do a keynote speech about anything, that's that real me. I've never been trained professionally. So when they come to see me, it's more about getting over the fear of public speaking, because they do say that the fear of public speaking, there's more people scared of public speaking than they are death. Yeah. That's how it affects some people.
Well, I get people even saying, like, doing this, people are like, I don't know how you're speaking to like, it's a lot easier here because it's only you and I. Yeah. But, everyone's watching, but that's the thing, it's a lot easier to do this, but people can't even fathom doing that.
No.
It's just such a huge fear of being, that being watched or being, judged, I guess is what it all comes down to, isn't it?
Judged more than anything, yeah.
Because that could be quite an effective thing, because, learning how to be an effective speaker, you know, because that counts a lot for a lot, learning to be in that zone or get people in that zone or use techniques or the way you speak, how your voice sounds or volume or, keywords, buzzwords, things like that. That's something you would use, and you could probably...
And you've got things like Toastmasters and that out there that do that, and they're fantastic. Yeah, it's just never been something that I've felt like I needed to do.
Probably a very effective coach.
Yeah, I'm sure it'd be brilliant, but it's just not for me. I'd rather tell it from the heart. Yeah, and that way people can relate to it more. Yeah. But you're right. Some of the anchoring and some of the triggers and things they use and certain words would be fantastic to learn. Yeah, it's just that I've never felt I needed to.
I didn't realise hypnosis was such a broad range as well too, when you think of a hypnotist, all you think is you on stage
swinging a watch,
make people do silly shit, but it's actually such a broad spectrum of things you can do, and obviously always learning. So
yeah, absolutely, but it's very powerful, and there's so many different ways to use it. And there's so many people that use different niches. Like you might get somebody who does hypnosis birthing.
Oh, okay.
So they deal with just women that are pregnant that can't have drugs. Yeah. So they use hypnosis. Then you'll get another niche where people will just do stop smoking. Another one where people will do like my friend that does sports, nothing else. So there's different niches, and then you've got the generalist, which will deal with pretty much anything. Yeah.
Just whatever comes through the door.
That's it. Whatever walks through that door, they'll deal with. Yeah.
Nice. Well, Mark, I appreciate you coming in and
absolute pleasure,
speaking
mate.
on all of it. I just didn't realise the whole broad spectrum of what it is you do and the psychology of it. And I appreciate you coming in, and
pleasure.
Catch
Thanks
you next show.
Thanks, mate. Excellent. Pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you.